Holy crap! The Mummy Returns is 25 years old this year? I can't believe it. Is this really true? Do you guys remember that movie when you were a kid? I haven't seen this movie in a long time. We still own a copy of it on videotape, but I don't think anybody remembers The Mummy Returns. We still own a copy of videotape at home. I think it got burned in the Eden fire. I don't know. I think it was in on our Altadena house or something, but it doesn't belong to me. It belonged to somebody else in my house. When I was a kid, I never watched Mummy Returns because I thought The Mummy Returns was kind of scary in my opinion, like about mummies and scary stuff. It wasn't a type of movie a 5-year-old kid would watch. You have to wait till you're a big kid to watch it, but I don't think little kids are allowed to watch scary movies. But The Mummy Returns is a very famous kids movie back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Well, it's an adventure movie, kind of like Indiana Jones. They're looking for ancient treasures. They also have to fight dead zombie monsters and stuff like that. So The Mummy Returns came out in the same year as Tomb Raider, which is kind of interesting, isn't it? Well, good point, because the hero is kind of like Indiana Jones or Lara Croft. He has two handguns like Lara Croft, except he's a guy, not a woman. In this movie, this one guy marries his girl, who's a librarian, and they have a kid together. That's kind of cute, isn't it? Can you imagine he going on adventures together with his kid? I want to know what they're going to do anyways. Oh, they're looking for treasure. That's their goal. So, like, Brendan Fraser plays an American mercenary who's working with the French Foreign Legion and discovers something scary beneath the sand, which turns out to be mummies, of course. Speaking of which, do you guys remember the 2017 Mummy Returns movie with Tom Cruise, which is set during modern times, not the old times? It's a pretty cool film. It's a shame it did not do on the box office, but they try to make more movies and stuff like that. If they have more monsters from the old days, that'll be kind of cool to see another sequel. Don't you guys agree? The Mummy Returns movies made Brendan Fraser into a celebrity, and then he became forgotten all these years. He was in George of the Jungle, of course, and Dudley Do-Right. Remember those movies? Yeah, you remember that Tarzan crashed into the tree who became really famous, like the Georgia of the Jungle? It's kind of interesting that George of the Jungle was in the Mummy movies. Maybe that's why the other person liked those movies, because George of the Jungle. I'm not a big fan of those movies. I think they're stupid. But I can't believe that Brendan Fraser used to be really popular in the late 90s and early 2000s. And then he became forgotten. He kind of disappeared from the spotlight over the years. But he was in Journey to the Center of the Earth, of course, back in 2007. Somewhere in the mid-2000s, he kind of disappeared from the spotlight. So let me get this straight. He was kind of famous for a short time. He wasn't in movies that much, of course. So The Mummy Returns is basically a Universal movie that nobody else remembers. Isn't it kind of weird that The Mummy Returns came out in the same year as Jurassic Park 3? Two of them are basically monster movies. The one film takes place during present time, computers and technology, and The Mummy Returns takes place in the 1930s. So The Mummy Returns and Jurassic Park 3 are both different time period movies. The present day and the 1930s. Isn't that kind of interesting? It kind of makes sense that it takes place in Egypt. Back in the 1930s, lots of archaeologists are discovering Egypt and their mummies and stuff like that. In the 1920s, that was the time when archaeologists discovered ancient Egypt. Nobody really knows anything about ancient Egypt until archaeologists discovered it in the 1920s. It would not make sense if it takes place during modern times. I don't think that's the era of archaeology. The 1920s was a big time of archaeology. There's lots of archaeologists in the 1920s and 30s, and they put all their displays of the things they discovered in history books and also in museums and stuff like that. I wish I could watch The Mummy Returns someday, but I thought it was a bit too scary to watch as a kid. It wasn't a type of movie I would like to watch. It's more like a girl's movie. I don't know. Boys can like it too. But I thought The Mummy Returns looks a little bit too scary for a little kid like me. Do you know what I don't really have a favorite movie back in 2001, to be honest. Remember back when I was a kid, I do remember watching Zimmo the Alien videotapes. Have you guys ever watched Zimmo the Alien grow up back when you were kids? Remember that alien puppet who talks about vehicles and stuff like that? There's no scary monsters in that movie. It's a normal alien who talks about trains and airplanes. It was a cool series. I do love Tom the Tank Engine also. That was a really good show. Jet Plane used to be on TV. It's all about airplanes. It's interesting, my mom has a great taste for TV shows for me about vehicles. My mom seems like a big nerd in vehicles. I don't think my mom's a big fan of monster movies. My dad's a monster movie fanatic. I don't know if there are going to be monster movies this year. I don't know, they will. So The Mummy Returns is basically an early 2000s movie nobody seems to remember. I don't know any kids who saw The Mummy Returns. Not in my back in my elementary school years. The only thing I knew about The Mummy Returns is that videotape copy, the videotape copy we owned at home. You can watch it at home on videotape, which is kind of interesting, isn't it? I like the pictures though. They do look really cool though. I did not know The Mummy Returns is actually a sequel to The Mummy that came out in 1999. I don't remember that film. I definitely need to watch the Mummy movies. They used to be really popular in the early 2000s. They made a third movie back in 2008. That was the same year as Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So The Mummy Returns is a rival competitor to Tomb Raider about a bad boy who fights policemen looking for stupid puzzle pieces that belong to planets that to be centered around the solar system, and Jurassic Park 3, a rescue mission of a kid. Kind of stupid, isn't it? I'm going to talk about Jurassic Park 3 someday in the future. So when my Mummy Returns, happy 25th birthday!